We know where we are now. So you'll have that back in the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
My next item up is Transportation Network Company Services. I think based upon the county taking action, that became a moot issue until the county resolves that, and depending on what they do, we'll bring it back. Next up, business.
Check, just real quick, and I still want to examine how, I'm not sure, we do regulate taxis and give some licenses in the city. The only municipality that does that, and I raise that issue again. I'd like to examine that as, why are we doing that? Do we need to continue doing that? Because what it does, in my opinion, sometimes what it does is it restricts, just like we're doing with Uber and Lyft in the county, it restricts competition within the city of Fort Lauderdale, and I'm not sure that I would like to see more competition within the city of Fort Lauderdale, more ride taxi service available to the public, and this is related to the transportation network companies that see that, but part and parcel of this discussion, I'd like to, again, bring forward.
Well, let's put it on for discussion
Okay.
at the same time we're dealing with, because what we had put that on, Lee and I, during the break, had met with some of the transportation network companies. Full disclosure, I support more options, more
Right.
alternatives to transportation, not less.
Right.
But at the same time, I thought, there needs to be good faith negotiations on both sides. I thought the county was working through the process. I think that some of these companies like Uber and Lyft kind of felt that they didn't have to play by the same rules. And my thought was that we would have a discussion here to try to come up with a reasonable compromise that expanded transportation options and alternatives within the city. My thing right now is where we're going as a downtown, we need every possible transportation option available to our public. Whether it be a bus, a taxi, a transportation company, a limo, a train, a plane, an
About
automobile.
unmanned vehicle.
Well, you name it. No, I'm just serious. I think as a
They're
community,
coming.
as a community, we need to look at more options and more opportunities transportation-wise,
And I
not less.
just think that us licensing, having it being part of the licensing permit issue restricts that, what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
I like to talk about it.
But to your point, and I don't disagree with you, to your point, the only way we really have a legal way of doing this, from what I understand, because of state statute, is because we've had regulations in this area.
I'm calling you, Mr.
Okay.
Cox.
Huh?
I'm calling you in a minute. Don't worry.
So we're the only city in the whole county that can really do this. So it's, as Jack says, I think we just got to balance it all out. And at the end of the day, we do have to open the doors, but I think it's much bigger than just us. We know that. So us just doing it ain't going to do any good for somebody who wants to go to the airport or the seaport. That's where it just doesn't fit. So unless we wait for the county to do something, and if they don't do anything, then we'll have to
We can
jump
do something.
We got to, but
But you look at things we've talked about over the wave, the Sun Trolley, we just talked about the ridership there, the buses, the water taxi, the water bus. There are so many options, and my whole thing is that if we're going to become a walkable downtown, a live, work, play downtown, where not everybody's going to bring a car in here, we need every transportation option available. And we need to look at that, we need to keep that option open for us, maybe through our ordinance, to expand it some other way. It may not just be transportation network companies, it could be us saying, something we need to do with a connection between the wave and the all aboard. I think we just need to keep that option open. This originally, though, was put on today solely because of the issue with the county. And I think, like I said, it wasn't us saying, as you know, we weren't coming out in 100% support of Uber. We were just simply saying, look, let's have an honest discussion, an honest debate about the solution to all of our transportation needs, which may or may not include Uber and Lyft. That was sort of where I was going with that, putting it on the agenda. Dean, you want to comment on that?
I agree with what you're saying. I think that originally the concept of the medallion, for some reason, was a business model that seemed to work at the time when it was established. It was established all over the country. New York has it, and San Francisco has it, and Boston, and we have it. And somehow technology has overtaken that business model, and I know that the Yellow Cab Company for many, many years provided taxi service. In fact, in many cases, it was the only company around in which it provided, the type of cab service that we needed in our county, in our city. I think that model has since become obsolete with new technologies, and somehow I feel that the value of those medallions has plummeted.
The water isn't going to kill you, but the ice is going to hit, man.
I think that we're ready. We're ready to open it up. I think that technology has taken over the issue, and as Bruce has said, the medallion concept really doesn't work anymore. I think we should let the market determine who should be out there and who can make it, who can't. Let the competition. I think that we can certainly provide certain minimum requirements, as every municipality does, in terms of who's qualified to drive and background checks and things like that. But as far as who should be allowed to pick up at the airport and who should be allowed to pick up at the port,
Well, that's a county thing, so we don't have any say.
no, but I'm just saying those as examples.
No, I know. And I agree with you. I think what Jack says is the obvious, though. That here we were, when this ordinance was first formed, there wasn't a whole lot of transportation in the rest of the county except within Fort Lauderdale, I'm sure. One of the first. So over time, it just hasn't been
Growing.
Yeah, it hasn't grown, and it hasn't been viewed in light of the technology that you mentioned. So it's going to, in my opinion, when we do it, we're going to have to do a wholesale deal if we need to do it. And we had discussions about us just totally getting out of it, which might be the best option too.
Well, but, guys, I might even look at taking the taxi medallion and simplifying it. I mean, part of what I heard from the county side of this debate, when you watched a little bit of the debate, was counties are saying, some of the problems they're having, the county taxis are saying, some of the problems they're having are the restrictions and regulations in place.
Yeah.
So maybe we provide the vehicle for the taxi companies to have less restrictions, less regulations, less
I agree with
less
that.
burdensome
We need to
responsibility, and all of a sudden we say to them, hey, we can issue a medallion and let the taxi companies compete with Uber in a more efficient way.
In the same
That's
way.
something that we could talk
In
about.
the same way. And honestly, if there wasn't a service gap, I don't really think we'd be talking about this right now, but
There is a service.
there is a service gap.
Huge service gap.
Right, and that's the only reason why.
Well, even more important, there's a whole mindset of, we don't want people that buy their own car if they don't have to. I know a guy who sold his car. All he does is drive around Uber.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's a traveling guy, goes back and forth here.
Just the same guy that rides the bikes every day.
No, a different guy.
And those are.
But he didn't have a car either.
He sold his car too, and now he rides.
So those are all the things that are
Recycle.
happening. So, all right, so we're on the same page. That's
Our
good.
petitions.
But maybe we use our ordinance as a way to make it more
To
competitive for the taxi
accelerate, to
companies.
accelerate the competition.
And we do not restrict options for the public, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Okay.
Right.
Just the same rules.
Oh, you wanted to speak on it, Mr.